Okay, I'm going to take you through how I created that little sample SAT. We're going to look at a few things that you might need to use in your SAT, such as data access using a CSV file and a multi-form application. So I've just opened a new project called SAT Data Sample, and I'm going to start off by setting the window so that it maximizes when we run it, so it looks more like an application itself. I'm also going to use, instead of buttons, you could use buttons, I'm actually going to use a menu strip. So if you come down into the menus and toolbars, and just drag a menu strip onto there, and then it's a question of just typing the menu names in there. Now the usual ones are File, and File will have a sub-menu, just Exit. Then what have we got? Edit. Edit will add new member. Add data, member data. That'll do for that, because we're just going to do some reading and writing and data. And then view, and in view we'll be able to view members, just a list of members. View member data, and what else? Oh, we'll actually we'll look at the graph interface. That'll do, and we'll also have the ubiquitous help button, and that'll just have about, and that won't do much, but anyway, so it goes. All right, so we're just going to use the main form as just the introduction, just as a top-level page. So I'm going to start off by adding some new member data. So just select that menu item, double-click on it, and we'll take you to the event handler for it. And what we're going to do in that is we're just going to actually go ahead and load a new form. So it's just going to be load new member form. So I'm just going to go and create a new form for that one to start with, selecting the top of my project here in the solutions window, and just add a new form, add Windows form. And I'm just going to use, I'm just going to call it new member form. That'll do. Add that to the project. Right, so my new member form, this is going to be pretty simple. I'm just going to put in a couple of text boxes. You can format it yourself, and you can determine what data you need to collect from users. I'm just going to put in a couple of text boxes. I'm going to change the font size because that's a bit too small. So if I come up to the font here, expand that, and just set the size to be 12. Alright, and I'm going to rename that as text box name first. Depends what data you want to collect from your users. But I'm figuring that name would be one of them. I'm not even going to put any labels to format this. I probably should, but I can't be bothered at the moment. So Control C, Control V. Now I've got another one. I'll just align that and change the name to be box name last. And then I'm just going to put in a combo box as well, just because we can. Just put in a combo box, but rather than load it dynamically, you already know how to do that. I'm just going to change the name of that to house. Let's just use some easy data, and I'm just going to add that collection not dynamically. I'm just going to add it to the items collection here, and these are just one to a line. So let's just Hudson, Dairy, I'm not sure about the houses, Molland. Can't remember the others. What's the Python one? Doesn't matter. Anyway, that'll do. 3 of those. That'll be fine. You might want to capture some other data too, such as birth date, things like that. You can resize these and format this as you like. We'll also need a save button. So you can format these actually by going up to format, and you can make the vertical space equal. So that'll, well, it should. Oh, actually, I didn't select any of them. So if I select those and come up to format, make a vertical space equal. There we go. So it reformats those. I'll stick in a button, and just call it save. So save button, and just change the text on that to be save, and I can resize that. It'd be useful in your application to make all the buttons the same size, obviously. Don't need to tell you that. And now let's just hit that, and there's our event handler for our button. What are we going to do with the form? Well, when they hit the save button, we're just going to read input from the user. We're going to actually create a record for a member, and then we're going to write to the CSV file, right to the data store, which for us is going to be a CSV file. All right, so let's come back and actually access that form. So if we come back into our form 1, and this is where we'll actually load the form. So it's going to be form, because it is a type of form. Let's call it new member form equals new, and there's our new member form. Right, so that's created an instance of our form, and then we've just got to show it. So new member form dot show. Now I'm going to actually show it as a dialog window, which means that you won't be able to dismiss it until you, or do anything behind until you've dismissed the window, which makes sense because we only want one window open at a time. So if I run that now, I should get my sized window. I should be able to access the menus and run that new form when it finally happens. Waiting. Okay, here we go. So if I go to edit, add new member, and there's my new member form, and I can't click out of it, and it doesn't do anything. There we go. So now let's go and look at how we're going to actually add the data. First thing, what we're going to do is we're going to use some file I/O. So we've got to add a library using system.io for input and output. There we go. So that gives us access to the file library. So let's go and read the input. So let's just do string str name first equals txt box name first dot text. You know how to do this, so this is easy. Another one, string str name name last equals last dot text. There we go. And str string, let's do str house equals what do we call it, cm combo box house dot. We're going to use the selected item. There are a few of them. We're going to use not selected index. We're going to use, or selected text. We're going to use selected item. But if we add this, what you'll find is that it actually returns, it tells us that it returns an object. Well, a string is an object, but we'll have to cast that, we'll have to turn it into a string. So there's a couple of ways you can do it. The way that we've been using, convert.toString, there it is, and we'll give it that object, and it will convert it to a string for us. There is a shortcut, but I'm happy if we use this one. Okay, now that we've got that, to write our data to the data store, we're going to use file dot append. Append all lines requires a set of lines. We're just going to append all text, which is going to, if we have a look at that method, what it says is it opens a file and appends the specified string to the file and then closes the file. If the file does not exist, the method creates a new file. So what it will do is that we're going to give it a file. It says it needs a path and a content. So we're going to have to give it both of those things. Right, but first of all, let's go and create a path. So we'll come up to inside the top of the class, and path is just a string. Let's call it file path equals members dot CSV. There we go. Where's they put the V? There it is. Cool. So that's the file that we're going to write to. So that will be a variable that we'll need to use throughout the program. So, right, so let's come down and we'll give it that, but we also need something to actually write. We need a string that is the record. Now, our CSV file is going to look like this. It's going to look. It's going to be name first. I beg your pardon. Let's put name last. Name last. No, name first would be more sensible. Then we're going to separate it with a pipe character. Name last. Another pipe character. Display name. And that's why we're going to use the pipe to separate the characters, the data of our file. And then we'll have house. And you might want some other, so you might want to capture some other data in there, but that will do for me. And that's what each record is going to look like. So if you imagine this is an Excel file with these as column headers and the column data coming down underneath it. So we've got to actually sort out some data like that. So what we've got to do, let's create a record. So string, the record is going to be a string. Let's call it string row. Oh, let's call it record, that'll do. And it's going to be set to be equal to the name first, then the character. Well, let's do this. I'm going to create a delim character, which is just an easy way to store the pipe, so I don't have to keep typing that out. So now I'm just going to do this. I'm going to put string name first. Then I'm going to add to that the delim. Right, then I'm going to add to that str name last. You can see what's happening. Then I'm going to again insert the delim character. Oops. Right, then what is it? Display name. Now display name doesn't actually exist, so the display name is going to be formatted as this. It's going to be the last name. So it's going to be str name last plus a comma in between them, and then it's going to be plus name first. Beg your pardon, missed out the plus first. Okay, all right. Then we've got to have another delimiter character. Then we've got to have the house. Then finally we've got to put the environment's new line. Oops. Environment.new line character, because we want the next line to be written, next row to be written on a new line. So there we go. So that's my record. So if I just put that in there, str record, there we go, and that's done. So if I run that now, actually there is one error there, I think. I think we'll find we get an error with that. So let's put, should be okay. Let's see what we get. So if I didn't put any messages up there, I should do, but let's come into, have a look and see what we've got there. So documents, Visual Studio, projects, set data sample, bin, debug, and there is my member data file. Now, if I don't want to open it with Excel, which is the default for CSV files, so I'm going to open it with WordPad. And what I should see, get lost. There it is. There's my data. First name, first name is the display name, and the house. So that's cool. All right, but I probably should, to make the application more useful, I probably should put in a bit of eye candy there, so that it actually does something like, when it actually does that, it should actually do a message box. So we should do message box dot show. Fill this out. Let's do the string data saved. Then we can give it a caption, save for the box itself, and then we can give it some message box buttons, and let's give it the OK. There are a few you can give it there, and message box icon. Let's just do the information. There we go. We could probably do a few other things with that, but that'll work. That'll be good feedback for the user. And we also need to actually set our text boxes back to empty, so that if your user wants to put any more in there, they can actually see that name last equals empty as well, and we should set the combo box back as well, but I'll let you work out how to do that. Alright, so if I run that again, and this time if we add another record, it should append it to the file. Let's make it Molland save, data saved, so it's okay. If we put in another one in Derrimut, data saved. Okay, pretty corny, but let's go and see what we got this time. So we should now have, right, there we go, there are members there. So that's cool, easy. Alright, the next one, alright, so the next one we'll have a look at how to actually read the data into a data grid view.